Welcome back to Flair Stories, the place for the juiciest tales. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our latest stories. My name is Zohan, I'm 25 and I work as a software developer at a small tech company just outside the city. I've been friends with Dylan since college. We've stayed close all these years. Today's story is about an unexpected day that changed everything for me and his family. Dylan and I have known each other for years, but I've always been drawn to his mom, Linda. She has this warmth and energy that's simply captivating. Every time I visited, I would often end up chatting with her, sometimes even more than I did with Dylan. She's easygoing, laughs at my jokes, and honestly, she's beautiful. There's something magnetic about her that I just couldn't ignore. So, when I had a free day, I decided to surprise Dylan with a visit. I didn't think too much about it. I grabbed my keys and drove over without calling ahead. I thought it'd be a fun, spontaneous catch-up. When I arrived, Dylan wasn't home, but Linda opened the door, looking surprised to see me. She greeted me warmly, laughing softly as she invited me inside. "Well, this is a surprise," she said with that signature smile. "Dylan didn't mention you were coming." I smiled and rubbed the back of my neck. "I thought I'd surprise him," I replied. She laughed and stepped aside. "Well, he's not here, but you're welcome to stay until he gets back." Just then, a heavy rainstorm started pouring down suddenly, making it hard to leave. Linda glanced out the window, raised an eyebrow, and turned back to me. "You're definitely not going anywhere in this weather," she said, her smile widening. I nodded, secretly happy for the excuse to stay. She led me to the living room where we settled in. The sound of the rain created a quiet, intimate atmosphere. As we sat and chatted, I couldn't help but appreciate her presence more and more. Linda offered me a warm cup of tea as the rain beat against the windows. Sitting there in the cozy living room, we talked about work, life, and, of course, a little about Dylan. Her laughter was soft and inviting, making me feel at home. Every so often, our eyes would meet, lingering a little longer than usual, and I felt that subtle spark between us. As we spoke, she leaned back in her chair, casually crossing her legs. I couldn't help but notice her graceful, confident posture. She was 50, yes, but there was something timeless about her. Her energy, her smile, it all felt so youthful, and I found myself captivated. I tried to hide it, but I think she noticed. Her eyes twinkled with amusement whenever I looked her way. "So, Zohan," she said with a playful smirk, interrupting my thoughts, "you seem awfully quiet tonight. Something on your mind?" Caught off guard, I stammered, chuckling nervously. "I guess I just didn't expect to be here like this, just the two of us." She tilted her head, her gaze warm and teasing. "Well, it's a nice surprise," she said softly. "Dylan's not around much these days, and it's good to have some company." Her words were casual, but the warmth in her tone made my pulse quicken. We continued talking, and eventually, the conversation turned more personal. She shared stories about her youth, dreams she once had, and how her life had changed over the years. I found myself completely engrossed, hanging on every word. As the hours passed, the storm outside grew more intense, showing no sign of letting up. Linda glanced at the clock, then back at me with a thoughtful smile. "Looks like the weather won't clear up anytime soon," she said. "It's really coming down out there." I nodded, glancing out the window at the torrential rain. "Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to make it home tonight." She nodded, her voice soft and understanding. "Well, you're welcome to stay here if you want. Dylan's room is just down the hall." I smiled, grateful but aware of the thrill bubbling inside me. "Thanks, Linda. I'd really appreciate it." She disappeared for a moment and returned with extra blankets, placing them on the couch beside me. Our hands brushed as she handed them over, and I felt a surge of warmth spread through me, making me look up at her. She held my gaze, her expression soft and inviting, and for a moment, everything outside seemed to fade away. "You know," she said softly, almost a whisper, "I've always thought you were a charming young man, and now that you're here, it's been really nice talking, just the two of us." My heart raced. I feel the same way, Linda, I replied. The air between us was thick with unspoken feelings. She looked at me, her eyes searching mine, and then slowly, she leaned closer. I felt her warmth, the soft scent of her perfume filling the space between us. I knew in that moment that this was a moment I'd never forget. Laced with mischief, I could only nod, a rush of exhilaration sweeping over me as she led me down the dimly lit hallway toward her bedroom. The door creaked open, revealing a space that felt both intimate and welcoming, softly lit by the warm glow of a lamp. The room was tastefully furnished, but it was her presence that truly brought it to life. She turned to face me, her gaze steady and charged with energy, the air between us thick with anticipation. As the door clicked shut behind us, the sound resonated in the silence, intensifying the moment. I stepped closer, drawn to her like a moth to a flame. My heart raced as she took a step toward me. I reached for her hand, intertwining our fingers, the warmth of her skin sending something electric through me. With a gentle tug, I pulled her closer, my other hand brushing against her waist, feeling the softness of her body against mine. She looked up at me, her eyes sparkling with desire and mischief, and I felt my resolve slip away as I leaned down, capturing her lips once more. The kiss deepened, becoming more urgent as I pulled her against me, our bodies fitting together perfectly. I could feel her warmth radiating into me, each kiss sending electric waves through my veins. Her hands roamed my arms, tracing the muscles before tangling in my hair, pulling me closer and urging me to explore further. As I broke the kiss, I looked into her eyes, seeing the reflection of the heat and passion we'd ignited in each other. I pressed my forehead against hers, savoring the moment, feeling both exhilarated and vulnerable. "Are you sure about this?" I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. Her answer came in the form of a soft smile, and she nodded, her eyes locking with mine. "I've never been more sure of anything," she replied, her voice steady and full of warmth. With that affirmation, I leaned down again, capturing her lips. This time, I stepped back, gently guiding her onto the bed. The mattress felt soft and inviting, and as she sank into it, I hovered over her, the anticipation in the air palpable. I took my time, letting my lips trail along her neck, kissing softly along her collarbone, savoring every moment as I felt her body shiver beneath my touch. Her fingers danced along my back, urging me on as I explored her, inch by tantalizing inch, savoring every gasp and every sigh that escaped her lips. I paused for a moment, looking down at her. The way she looked at me, filled with longing and trust, took my breath away. I leaned in closer, our bodies aligning perfectly as I pressed against her. My hand brushed her thigh, a soft yet possessive gesture that sent a shiver through both of us. As the rain continued to beat against the window, I lost myself in her, the world outside fading away. I moved with intensity, fueled by our connection, every kiss and every touch exploring the depths of our desires. Our bodies moved in sync, lost in the rhythm of passion, and I felt a sense of fulfillment wash over me as each moment pulled us closer together. The night stretched on, filled with whispered laughter and gasps of pleasure as we completely lost ourselves in each other. The boundaries of our friendship blurred, replaced by something deeper, something wild and beautiful. I had never imagined a night could unfold like this. Each moment brought us closer, wrapping us in a sea of intimacy. Eventually, as exhaustion crept in, I laid beside her, my arm draped protectively around her shoulders. We were both panting, our breaths mingling as we took in the aftermath of our connection. I felt her fingers lightly tracing patterns on my chest, and I leaned down, kissing her forehead softly, savoring the warmth of her body against mine. "Tonight was incredible," I murmured, my heart swelling with emotions I couldn't quite name. She turned toward me, a soft smile gracing her lips. "It really was," she replied, her eyes sparkling with satisfaction and a hint of mischief. "I think I could get used to this." As we drifted into a peaceful slumber, the rain outside began to lighten, but inside, our hearts remained intertwined, forever changed by this unexpected night of passion. I knew then that this was just the beginning of something special, a story woven with threads of desire, friendship, and newfound love. We lay entwined in each other's arms, basking in the afterglow of our passion. The world outside slowly returned to normal. The rain had lightened, and the rhythmic patter against the window created a soothing background to our whispered conversations and soft laughter. Just as I was drifting off to sleep, the sharp ring of the doorbell jolted me awake. I froze, my heart racing as I glanced at her. A mix of surprise and panic appeared in her eyes. The reality of the moment crashed down on us. Her son, my friend, was home. "Is that him?" she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah, it's him," I replied, my mind racing. We quickly scrambled to straighten ourselves up, but the frantic rustling of sheets and clothing only added to the chaos. The doorbell rang again, more urgently this time, making my pulse quicken. "Quick, hide," she urged, her eyes wide with urgency. I glanced around the room, desperately searching for a place to go. Without thinking, I dove into the closet, pressing myself against the wall. My heart pounded in my ears. I held my breath, straining to hear what was happening outside the bedroom.